Good morning and welcome. It is March 29th, 2026, Sunday, and this is Sunday Funday from Courtroom Confidential, the fastest growing true crime news channel on YouTube. I guess I can't say good morning anymore. It's noon here on the West Coast. Thank you also so much for joining us. I know that we're starting a little bit late this morning, but I appreciate you being also accommodating and still showing up in tremendous numbers. So good to see so many familiar faces. Kindness. Wait a minute, I missed that name there. Kindness, Coefficient, Lindsay Bay, IGG Rocks, Haley Mew, D Bullard says, happy Sunday Fun Day, crew. Afton says, hello, CC crew. Hello to all of you. Hello to everybody who is joining us on Facebook and on X. If you're there, please say hello. We would love to hear from you. Legal Cat Chi-Town says, good afternoon from Chicagoland. Good to see all of you. Thank you so much for carving out some time on a Sunday. To all of the familiar faces and names, welcome back. To everybody who's new, welcome. You're going to enjoy today's show. We've got a lot of really great questions. As always, I don't know why I try to make it sound so special. We have great questions every single week. I'm just really juiced and excited about this week's questions. Let me introduce myself. My name is Joshua Ritter. I'm a former prosecutor with the LA District Attorney's Office. I was there for just over 10 years before I left to go into private practice as a criminal defense attorney. And this is Courtroom Confidential, a channel that we started a couple of years ago with the idea, the mission statement, the goal of presenting to you both sides of the courtroom, both sides of the issues, both sides of the stories. And we hope that we do that. And this show on Sunday, appropriately named Sunday Fun Day, is a show where we take your questions that you've left us throughout the week in voice messages, and we're going to answer them live right now. That's right, right now. Stay to the end for announcements. We do have some new things coming up, some guests that I want to share with you, by the way, for Monday and Wednesday, already booked. That's how ahead of things Tiffany is. And that's it. That's all I got. Let's get into it. Take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath. Slowly, I'm going to turn the beginning of this show into like how they start things at a yoga studio. Take a deep cleansing breath. Let it all out. You've made it. It's the end of the week or the beginning of the new one, depending on how you look at it. You've made it all the way to Sunday, though. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Why not? It's free, and share this with anybody that you think might enjoy it. You guys came through lots and lots of questions. As always, we tried to get to as many as we could. If I didn't get to yours, don't be hurt. I will get to it next time. Should we jump in? Let's jump in. Who's kicking us off this week?
Hi, this is Cheryl from Billings, Montana, calling about the disappearance of Jodi Huisentruit from Mason City, Iowa in 1995. As she was headed to her job as a news anchor. Are they still following leads on her disappearance, or have they decided the person responsible was the guy that was obsessed with her but has developed dementia since then? I see she was declared dead in 2001. Was the body found? I believe the first news I heard, her name was Susan Huisentruit, and I see her middle name is Sue. So please advise what you know about this case or what you can find out. I've been bothered by this since I heard it in 1995. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Cheryl calling from Billings, Montana. First of all, let's put you on the map. So good to hear from you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for putting Montana on the map there. You've got a couple of other friends that you could get together, have a meetup with your Courtroom Confidential partners. Jodi Huisentruit, you said that this case has been bothering you since 1995. That is a very long time. And I am sorry to tell you, Cheryl, but not a lot has changed since 1995. And Cheryl did a very good job of summarizing what took place in this case. And I'll just add a little detail here or there to it. Red Pen says, I'm from Iowa, and the Huisentruit case is so sad. It is sad. So she was an anchor, a local news anchor. This is June 27th. There she is. Lovely looking lady. June 27th, 1995, Mason City, Iowa. She was, like I said, news anchor for the local news. She's late to work. in the morning. She has the morning shift, a morning show, and they call her and she says, "Oh, I overslept. My alarm didn't go off. And I'm going to be in right now." And then she never shows up. So, this is before cell phones and everything else. They show up to her house and it's described as signs of a struggle outside of her vehicle. So her car is parked right outside of her apartment there, and they find like a shoe left, a bag discarded. I think the door to her vehicle is still open. Some obvious kind of signs that something bad, something scary took place. I believe that even during the interviews, the neighbors said that earlier in the morning, they may have heard the sounds of a woman screaming. Always bad news. You would hope that somebody would call 911 immediately upon hearing that. And then things go cold. She and we've talked about the Nancy Guthrie case many times on this channel, and we talk about whether or not, you can decide a case is cold or not. There's no official declaration of any of that. But this one, certainly, I think you can declare cold because they've got nothing for a long time. In fact, they wait until 2001 to declare her legally dead. The best I could guess from the articles that I had read and some of the research that I had done is that the last person to have seen her was a man by the name of John Van Sice. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, I want to be very clear. This man is never declared a suspect, quote unquote, but they look into him for sure. And, here's the thing. Suspect, person of interest, all of that. These are statements that don't have any real legal bearing. It's just kind of what the police want to call somebody. Sometimes they say everybody's a suspect. Sometimes they say nobody's a suspect. Everybody's a person of interest. No one's a person of interest. But he's a person that they're looking into for sure because he had last seen her. They had actually run some warrants, I think, regarding him. Even as recently as, a decade or so ago, they had looked into him. Well, John dies in 2024, just a couple of years ago. So as far as if he was their prime suspect, which they've never said, I want to make clear again, I certainly don't want to tarnish this man's name if he had nothing to do with it. But if he was their suspect, nothing that they can really do about it now doesn't mean they're not still looking into the case. My best bet for you, Cheryl, is if you're really interested in this thing, in my research, I found that there was a recent docuseries done on this. I think it's a multiple part by ABC News on Hulu back in 2025 called Her Last Broadcast, The Abduction of Jodi Huisentruit. I have not watched it. I've seen that the reviews are pretty good for it. So if you're interested, whoever, I know somebody else commented, they're very interested in it. I would invite you all to check it out and then let me know. Oh, well, there you go. Jules already told you it's an excellent documentary. Is it multi-part? It's 3 parts, says Kaylin. So there you go. Maybe we'll watch that soon. It's on Hulu. I think it's a fascinating story. Anytime you have someone, fascinating's not the right word. Tragic, scary, yet still kind of fascinating. I'm going to stick with fascinating because anytime somebody just kind of vanishes from the face of the earth blows my mind that we live in a world where still, despite the advances in technology and science, we fall into this kind of world, at least I do sometimes, where we feel like no one can get away with a crime. With DNA and digital footprinting and surveillance, how could anyone possibly get away with a crime? Now, I realize this was some time ago. We're going back to 1995. But still, the idea that somebody can just simply disappear from the face of the earth. No apparent people who wanted her gone or dead. It's not like she did some broadcast that was all of a sudden sparked a lot of controversy. She just poof like that. Looks like she got abducted and vanished. Christy Gibson said she watched it and it's a great documentary. That's enough for me. I'm watching it, guys. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much for kicking us off. Cheryl from Billings, Montana. Annalie Finch, thank you so much for the super sticker. Says, best thing about Sunday is it's Sunday Fun Day. See that? You always got a reason to look forward to Sunday now. Cody in Tennessee, thank you so much for gifting the membership. Always appreciate those gifted memberships. Want to spread the love as much as we can. And Galadriel Gilmore. Oh, I know who that is. Gina, sitting in line at Colombia, Mexico to cross back into Texas. That doesn't sound like it's a whole heap of fun, but at least we're here to keep you company while you do that. Thank you so much, Gina. All right. Let's keep it moving along here. Who do we got next? No, don't do that. Here we go.
Hi, Josh, Tiff, Mods, and CC crew. This is Misbehaving from Sandgate in Nottingham. My query is to lawyer-client confidentiality, worked product, and lawyer leaving due to either irreconcilable and non-waiverable issues or conflicts of interest. So like Sky in the Kouri Richins case and the 2.5 million lawyers in the Sarah Boone case, once they pass all the discovery that they've received from the prosecution over, are they obligated to pass all their own notes, or does this fall into the aforementioned work product, sorry. And once all the discovery is passed over, are they able to be contacted or contact the new lawyers read the case going forward? Hope this makes sense of my jumble. Thanks a lot. Cheers all. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ms. Behaven from Sandy Acre, England. Thank you again. So glad to hear from you. And a great question too, talking about attorney-client privilege, work product privilege, conflicts of interest. How do all of these things work when you're going from one attorney to the next, and sometimes multiple attorneys, aka Sarah Boone? The short answer is that the old attorney will usually turn over everything, minus their own notes. Why is that? Well, it's not entirely because of work product, though that is probably the formal reason you will be given by attorneys. But it's more like, one, they're not entitled to it, right? The new attorney's not entitled to it. So there's not going to be any kind of issues as to, oh, you're holding on to the client's property. But it's more like, you know, sometimes you put in your notes your own kind of musings, thoughts, perhaps even thoughts on the client, things that you don't entirely want the client even having information on. Maybe your thoughts on the strength of the case that are not something that necessarily needs to be disclosed to the new attorney or to the client. You know, also things like internal memorandum dealing with billing and your own retainer. These are things that don't get to turned over. But for the most part, all of the discovery, certainly all of the investigation, certainly all of the interviews done by yourself or by investigators, that's the property essentially of the client. They've paid for it and it's theirs, and you turn it over along with everything else. And it's usually a very congenial relationship between the new attorney, even though sometimes you may feel burnt. You may feel like, you know, a little bit of hurt feelings. Why did they fire me and move on to someone else? Usually, I should say, most attorneys are just trying to maintain their professionalism and working with new attorneys. And it's something that happens. And sometimes it's about personality. Sometimes it's about the client wasn't unhappy. They just want something new. It happens a lot with the first attorney. We've talked about this, like this first attorney-itis. When you're the first attorney, especially when you're the one that may even get hired before charges are filed, everything bad happens when you're that attorney. Your client comes to you, they say, I think I'm in big trouble. The police have reached out to me, but I haven't been arrested yet and I haven't been filed on. You say, okay, we're going to do what we can do. And then they get arrested, and then they get charges filed, and then they find out that they're looking to go to prison for a very long time. And they look over at you, and part of them says, "This is all your fault or your bad luck. I need a new attorney." That's fine. That happens quite often. It's more rare for that second attorney to get fired, because then usually it does become kind of a a difference in opinion on how the case should be handled, maybe a difference in opinion on how much attention they feel like they are getting and feel like they deserve a little bit more attention. People are, they feel that their case is the most important thing in their world. So why isn't it in their attorney's world? And the idea that their attorney might have other clients is something they cannot stand. So that does happen, and you get it. You understand it. It's kind of part of being living in this world. You hand over everything. You try to make it. You certainly don't want to ever be accused of hamstringing the new attorney. You want them to have everything. You want them to do well, and you certainly don't want them to blame you for any problems. And they do contact you. You can speak freely with them about perhaps your thoughts on the case, some work that you've done, weaknesses that you feel might exist in the prosecution case. And there are situations too where you might even ask for a conflict waiver. It's not so much a conflict waiver as much as it's kind of like a release of any kind of attorney-client privileged information that they may have shared with you, because you have to keep that to the grave, even to the new attorney, if there's confidential conversations your client has had with you. So you might get waivers if you want them, that old attorney, to remain very involved in the new case. And you remember, if we had when we had Sky on, there she is, she talked a little bit about that she was involved, she was helpful. There were some things she could help out on, some things she was bound by certain legal restrictions to not divulge or share with the new attorneys, but she was trying to be as helpful as she could. Very interesting interview that we had. If you guys are interested in her thoughts on and her reaction to this verdict, please check it out. It's up on our channel now. We'll put the link in the chat, but that's the conversation that we had with Sky Lazaro, who was the original attorney. She was actually hired by Kouri before charges were ever filed. So she went way back with her, but she was not her trial attorney. Thank you so much, Ms. Behaven, for the excellent question. And thank you to Therapists You Know for gifting the membership. Appreciate those gifted memberships. Jude the Tiger, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. And Heather Coopersmith, you are so fantastic, and we appreciate the super sticker. All right. Where are we off to now? Here we go. I just got to line up my numbers here, make sure I'm doing everything right. I think I am.
Hi, Heather from LA County again. After watching you and Gisela talk about it, as a defense attorney, Josh, how would you combat the chat GPT conversations in court? Like, is there a way to shut it down or anything like that?
So thank you, Heather, from LA County. Let's put you on the map, first of all. Thank you so much for calling. What Heather is referencing is we did an episode, I think it was last Monday, if I'm not confusing my dates, with Gisela from Grizzly True Crime. Shout out to Gisela. Shout out to the Grizzlies in the chat. Where one of the cases that we talked about was the Darron Lee case. This is a case that she's following closely, a case that is, I think she's done a deep dive on it. He was a former NFL linebacker, played, like not talking about one of those guys got drafted, never played. He actually played. And he's now looking at first-degree murder charges out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. This took place on February 5th of 2026. So just recently, he's accused of, arrested for, charged with the murder of his fiancee, Gabriella Perpetuo, who was only 29. Here's the list of injuries she had suffered: a stab wound to the abdomen, apparently a human bite mark on her shoulder, bruise on her head, heavy swelling, black eyes, severe brain injury, and a broken neck. She was beaten to death, everybody, and then stabbed. Really brutal case. Okay. That's enough for us to be interested and for us to care, obviously. But what makes this thing kind of stand out was that the prosecution has alleged that after this took place, he consulted with ChatGPT almost as like a confidant, a legal representative asking for advice. He actually had a moniker for ChatGPT. I didn't know this was something you could do. You can almost assign a name and personality to your chat bot. He called the chat Ali. Here's some part of the conversation that he had. If you guys have not been following this case, this is from the defendant, Lee. He says, "Don't know what to do right now. Fiance did her crazy thing again, and now she's messed up. I wake up and she has 2 swollen eyes. I didn't do anything, self-inflicted. She stabbed herself, slit her eye. I don't know, but she isn't working or responding. What do I do?" And then again, to Ali, this is the chatbot. "What should I tell my friend to handle someone non-responsive but wants to call the police?" So you could already tell that he's divulging information to the chat, but still can't help that human inclination to distance himself from the actual crime. And then here's where things get wild. ChatGPT, or Ali, responds by saying, "Okay, but this serious. Here's exactly what to tell your friend step by step. Here's exactly what is the safest way to handle it without framing it as police trouble." And that's the part that stood out to me so much, is that in the building of these algorithms, why isn't it programmed to be a, I don't know, good and honest person? like the ChatGPT bot seems to have some moral ambiguity built into it, saying, "Okay, let's handle this without framing it as police trouble." Why isn't the first response, "Hey, dude, hey, Darren, call the police, call a paramedic, call a lawyer. Don't get me involved." But instead, it's like helping him. And I realized that he was kind of putting some of this in the hypothetical, some of this as framed as talking to a third person. I've been told by people who are far more familiar with how these AI programs work than myself that is sometimes an end around to some of this stuff, that there are some safeguards built into these AI personalities where they won't do certain things, but there's a way to almost get around that by phrasing things as hypotheticals, or as, "Hey, I'm advising someone. If you were to advise a person in this hypothetical situation, what would you say?" So rather than saying, "Hey, I just beat my girlfriend to death, what do I do?" You say, "Hey, if a person had accidentally beat their girlfriend to death, what would you advise that person to do?" And that's like enough removed and hypothetical for the AI's safeguards not to take effect, and that it will start giving you advice. So that's apparently what took place here. It's a wild case. And it kind of made me forget the original question from Heather. Oh, no, Heather's question was, how would I, if I was his attorney, how would I combat this? Well, you're going to have trouble, Heather. His attorneys are going to have trouble because, one, his comments, his statements are coming in. There's no kind of hearsay problem as long as they can get past the foundational issues. And in other words, as long as they can establish he's the one that actually entered this into ChatGPT. If it's on his phone, they're probably not going to have much trouble. Then they don't have a hearsay problem because it's his own statements, party admission, that comes in. What about ChatGPT's response? Is that hearsay? Well, it's an out-of-court statement that you're offering, but are you offering it for the truth of the matter? Not really. You're not trying to say that ChatGPT is saying true things here, that the step-by-step advice ChatGPT is providing is true. You're more offering it for the response or the effect that these statements have on him. It's weird because we're in this intersection between, are we talking about that we should handle this like we would evidence of a person texting with him, or are we handling it like evidence of a machine? In other words, I don't think there would be the same hearsay issues if we're just talking about Google, right? We get Google responses all the time. Somebody, Brian Walsh, types in, how do I clean up blood? We're allowed to get in the responses that he receives from Google, because that's just computer shooting out information. Well, it's the same thing here, but somehow we have started to see the blending of this into another world where it's almost like we're treating it like a person advising him. We're living in strange times, everybody. That's all I can say. We're going to start seeing much more of this stuff, by the way, too. And I, for one, welcome our AI overlords. All right. Great question. True Crime with the Sarge. Joe Giacalone. I don't think I pronounce your name the right way. I heard you pronounce it, and I think I say it with a little more emphasis on the wrong syllables. But good to see you, my friend. Says, hello, Josh and the CC crew. Thank you so much for the kind support, my friend. Right back at you. Good to see you. Jude the Tiger, thank you so much. Says, wouldn't the ChatGPT output be considered the same way we consider Google searches? Oh, we're reading each other's minds. Look at this. Look at the simpatico-ness between me and Jude the Tiger. I think you're right. I think that's how it should be treated. But do you see how we're already finding confusion as almost we're treating it like a human? I think that's the way it should be considered. This is not a human. It is essentially you're speaking to a computer, and we don't have problems when computers give us information. Why should we have a problem with it giving us information, but doing it as if it's conversational? Great point, Jude the Tiger. All right. Great questions already. I feel like I'm already exhausted. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Where are we off to now?
Hi, Josh, Tiff, Kale, everyone on the team. This is Jen St. Peter from Bangor, Maine, calling in because I had a couple questions about Kouri Richins, even though I'm sure everyone is tired of hearing about her. My first question was, is she going to continue to profit off of the book that she had ghostwritten, or would that be profiting off of the crime where she was now found guilty? My second question/comment was her walk the dog letter. In the police body cam video, when they showed up after her 911 call, it appeared she had a dog, so I thought walk the dog was like her telling her mother to remember to take the dog out for walks. But I saw in another video that walk the dog is terminology or slang for review the plan or go over the plan. Do you think Kouri wrote walk the dog because she was saying, make sure to review this? Just thought that was interesting. Hope everyone has a good Sunday fun day. I will be listening to you Monday morning on my commute. Thank you.
Oh, Jen from Bangor, Maine. We're speaking to you in the future. It is now Sunday, but she'll be listening to us on Monday on her commute. Well, hello, Jen. Hope you're having a wonderful commute. Hope you had a wonderful Sunday. And a great question. Talking about Kouri Richins. I'm not sick of talking about Kouri. I still think she's got some interesting stuff for us to go through. First question, will she continue to profit off of her book? If you remember the reason, I believe the whole reason we're even talking about this case is because she wrote the book. If she had not written the book, I don't know if this case would have caught the media attention that it had. That was the hook, right? These media companies, these news outlets are always looking for something interesting, some hook. And I think this was it. Had she not written this book, I'm not trying to diminish the loss of Eric Richins' life, but it would have been another spouse on spouse homicide. But here she wrote this book. She went on TV. Oh my God, she's the one that actually did it. So interesting about this book. It was self-published. I don't know if she actually sold any copies. If you guys have that information, I couldn't come across that. I don't think it was something where she was actually making money off this thing, but I do know that soon after she was arrested, it became unavailable on Amazon and probably unavailable anywhere. I looked recently and I don't think you can find a copy of it. Maybe on eBay. I didn't go that far to try to look for it. But I don't think it's self-published. It's not, obviously a publishing house is not continuing to run copies of it. You're right. If she did make any money off of it, she's going to have to forfeit that. She's not going to continue to make money off of it. And it's not Somebody just posted that her book is online for $1.99. Where is this? Here we go. Nana of Four says Kouri's book is online for $1.99. So whoever's doing that either is not associated with her, has a bootleg copy, or should stop selling it. So there you go. But I couldn't find it anywhere. And, she didn't even write it at the end of the day. She got a ghostwriter and probably an AI illustrator to put it all together. Pretty sad stuff. But to the other question that you had, this is something I had not heard. And usually this kind of internet conspiracy theory stuff, I'm kind of like, This one was interesting to me, though, because I did look this up. This is not confirmed as far as I'm concerned. But there is some chatter out there that Walk the Dog, especially in the military, has a military slang. So if any of you are in the military, have been in the military, have friends in the military, I'm curious to know if there's actually, if this has legs. Get it? Walk the Dog apparently is a military slang for reviewing, rehearsing, talking about a plan beforehand. So let's in other words, like, let's get this all sussed out before we execute. Let's walk the dog before we execute. I kind of like that phrase. You could see that being something the corporate world would pick up too. Let's walk the dog on this issue real quick before we send this out to the client. I can absolutely see somebody using that in a boardroom. And okay, if that's true, well, then this takes on a different significance. If she's putting walk the dog on this letter, was she trying to signal to her mom or whoever was to receive this, that this is kind of her plan that they should walk through and execute ahead of time? Answer is, 1, it doesn't matter. She's going to prison anyways. 2, I don't think so, because I don't think that we've heard anything about any kind of military connection between her or her family. I could be wrong on that. But I feel like if that were true, the prosecution probably would have explored that as well. My understanding was that this was always about kind of disguising the letter, if anything, that if anybody were to have seen it, her plan was, by the way, not to actually hand this to her mother, but she had previously held up letters to her mother. And that was maybe the plan, is she knew that people were going to kind of be looking over her shoulder, put up this walk the dog letter. People would just think she's talking about household issues and ignore it. Wizard of Ezzy says, I've always equated walk the dog with a military term for going over a plan. Richins had a Navy-fed account, so someone in her family was military. Well, there you go. Somebody in her family probably had military background. IGG Rock says, walk the dog equals what to do. Could be. I mean, here's the thing. Maybe there's some sort of code in walk the dog, but she certainly is not using coded language in the rest of the letter. I mean, she's flat out saying we need to somehow come up with some sort of connection between Eric and Mexico, and we need to portray him as a druggie. So it's, if she was trying to use coded language, she certainly abandoned that when she got into the first paragraph or two. Interesting stuff. Again, I don't know if this is true, unconfirmed, but you all have done some research on this that I think there's at least something there that might be interesting. Great question, Jen from Bangor. Appreciate that. I also appreciate Gidge215 just became a YouTube member. Everybody, congratulations, welcome aboard, Gidge. Gina Gilmore said just gifted a membership. Appreciate you, Gina. And Alicia K. Mayo, AKM in the house. Everybody just gifted a membership as well. Love you guys. Thank you so much. The memberships are really a treat, so appreciate that. All right, where are we off to now? And he's already lost his spot. No, he hasn't.
Hi, Josh. This is Claire. First time caller, but long time listener. I'm from Scotland, an hour away from Edinburgh. I'm just wondering, in the Kouri Richins case, at the end, the judge says, waiting for pre-sentencing investigation report. Can you tell me what that is? I've never heard of it before. Thanks very much and happy fun Sunday.
Claire, first time caller. Love the first time callers. Thank you so much, Claire, for working up the courage and for putting Edinburgh, Scotland on the map. Appreciate you. There you are. Look at that. See, you've got some friends over there, not too far away. Maybe we need to, do we need to add Scotland to the world tour, Kaylin? Kaylin says yes. Okay, Scotland's now on the 2027 Courtroom Confidential World Tour. Thank you so much, Claire. Kouri Richins, great question. What is a pre-sentencing report? One of those questions where I kind of take it for granted that you guys might know what that is. But in most jurisdictions, probation is heavily involved in a case, even though you may not hear about it. Probation, sometimes the Department of Corrections might be involved. But it becomes more important in cases where there is kind of a sentencing guidelines, a range of sentencing that the judge can take advantage of here. With Kouri Richins' case, not so much. I believe she's looking at life, and that's kind of it. I don't know if the judge has a whole bunch of wiggle room in Kouri Richins' case, but in some cases, the judge might have, you know, to choose between 10 to 50 years. I mean, there's some of these jurisdictions have wide ranges. I'm used to, in California, it's pretty standard. It works on a triplicate basis. It's low term, midterm, high term. And the judge can kind of go in between those, but not much outside of those. But to help guide the judge, you're going to hear from the defense. They're going to make their arguments in mitigation. You're going to hear from the prosecution. They're going to give their arguments in aggravation. And then you invite what is supposed to be an impartial body in the probation department to give a pre-sentencing report where they have done their own interviews. They've maybe talked to people who knew the defendant. They maybe talked to the defendant themselves. They've maybe talked to the victims. They've evaluated the case, and they have given their own assessment on whether or not this is a probation-worthy case, whether or not this is a prison-worthy case, whether or not this is a case where the person should get the maximum or not, and they will give their own opinion, and the judge will evaluate that as part of the other evaluations that he makes. But like in anything, most of these reports kind of, I don't know how it works in Utah, but I know here in California that many times the probation report is not all that instructive to the judge because they're always leaning on the side of, yeah, this person should go to prison and go to prison for a very long time. Like there's not a lot of taking risks from the Department of Probation. I don't know if it works the same way in Utah, but that's what it is. It's kind of a independent government body involved in evaluating the case, hopefully objectively, and providing some insight to the judge on their decision making. Thank you so much, Claire from Edinburgh, Scotland, being a first-time caller. Appreciate you. All right. And thank you to, LMRV is in the house, everybody. Been a member for 7 months. Says Josh, Tiff, Caitlin, Mods. Love being a CC crew member. Always have fun and learning so much law. See, those things, two things can take place at the same time. Oma Nanger says, just became a member, everybody. Do like Oma Nanger and become a member. And Kindness Coefficient. Don't forget to hit the like button like I did until just now. Well, listen to Kindness Coefficient, everybody. By the way, maybe I should add, if you do want to become a member, the best way to do that is to go to thecourtroomconfidential.com, and we have had that set up so it's easy peasy. I know sometimes it's difficult to do on your phone or on YouTube itself, but go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and we've made it easy for you. We would love to have you. All right. Where are we off to next here?
Hello, Courtroom Confidential, Josh, Tiffany, Mods. members, everybody alike. This is Kim from Arizona. I think my handle is Kimberly Painter. I have a question about Shanda Vander Ark. I've been catching up on her appeal, and I would love to know your thoughts on the basis of the appeal, if you think she deserves one, the likelihood of her getting one. Just kind of would like to have your thoughts based on your experience. Thanks so much for having your channel. I am so happy to be a member.
Oh, Kim, we're happy to have you as a member. First of all, Arizona, putting you on the map. Good to hear from you, Kim. Shanda Vander Ark. I think I remember talking about this a few years ago, I feel. It was 2024 that she was convicted. I feel like in the recesses of my memory, which is really clouded, but I do feel like we did talk about her because this is a very awful case, but we haven't thought about it in a long time. But she is trying to make an argument for appeal. So just to catch you up on the circumstances of the case, she is now convicted. She's been sentenced to life without parole. This is out of Michigan. This took place in July of 2022 for the starvation and torture of her 15-year-old son, Timothy Ferguson. He was, get this, guys, he's 15 years old. Keep that in mind. 69 pounds at the time that he died. She had been accused of, apparently he had some behavioral issues, learning disabilities, and she had been accused of forcing him to eat things like bread soaked in hot sauce. I don't know. I don't know how you could possibly try to say that that is a lesson, that is somebody trying to teach somebody something. Discipline. That's just torture. That's just hurting someone. And that is if she gave him food, she would torture him even with the small amount of food that she gave him. Forcing him to take ice baths. Apparently, when he died, it was partially from starvation, partially from hypothermia. For hours, put him in an ice bath. Can you imagine the terror going through that young man's life? Already, he's got problems with just dealing with and existing in this world, right? If he's troubled with behavioral issues and learning disabilities, he's already a person that's having a hard time. And then you're just forcing and torturing this young person to sit in a bath to the point of, I imagine, hypothermia, to the point up to hypothermia many times. And then finally he just succumbs out of exhaustion. Just a young person tortured, no food in his body, and then you basically freeze him to death. Just life without parole, under the prison, as far as I'm concerned. Well, her appeal is based on, wait for it, ineffective assistance of counsel. She is saying that her attorney didn't advise her of the lesser charges in the case. I don't know if that's because she might have been offered something lesser and didn't understand, didn't take that offer. She's saying also, by the way, making herself a victim, trying to say that she was suffering from panic attacks and disassociation at the time that she was torturing her son and not giving him food. And that was causing her to behave the way she did. And she wasn't able to take advantage of those mental health defenses. It's a bunch of nonsense. Leslie B, thank you so much, says, I get sick even seeing her now and hearing her name. Unbelievable case, jail calls, interrogation, arrest video. Yeah, it's a real bad one. If you want to kind of make yourself feel miserable, you can do the research on it. And these, by the way, I don't think these appeals are going anywhere. When you're bringing an IAC, ineffective assistance of counsel appeal, you've usually run out of arguments. That's kind of a catch-all. I don't know who else to blame, so I'm going to blame my lawyer. I'm going to throw my lawyer under the bus. I'm a horrible, evil human being who did an awful thing, and there's a bunch of evidence against me, but I'm going to blame the lawyer. It's his fault. I didn't win. This isn't going anywhere. I really don't think it is. If you were concerned, Kim, about her chances, I don't think it's going anywhere at all. But thank you, Kim, for asking the question, for bringing that up. I know it has been in the news, and I'm glad we had an opportunity to discuss it. That is Kim from Arizona. Ann Potter has been a member for 7 months, everybody. I just saw somebody said, happy crewversary. I love that. Happy crewversary, 7-month crewversary to Ann Potter. Such a wonderful chat, such a great tea time with Tiff. If you know, you know, the hottest new show on YouTube. Great mods, cake maker Kaylin, kale chips, and our beloved Josh. Yeah. You have to join our membership just to see Kaylin's cakes, is what I should say. That alone is worth the price of admission. Proud Grizzly just gifted a membership to somebody, so you'll get to see Kaylin's cakes soon enough. All right. And Nana Banana just became a YouTube member. Be like Nana Banana, everybody. And come join us at the CC Crew so that we could soon be celebrating your crewversary. All right, where am I off to here? Hush up, Ritter. Get on with the questions. All right.
Hi, Josh. This is Jerry Michael in Newport News, Virginia. My question is related to witnesses that first come on the stand and the prosecution is asking, how old are you? What high school did you go to? What college did you go to? What is your wife's name? What is your kid's name? I'm surprised they don't ask what your dog's name is, too. Why do they ask such irrelevant questions? Why don't they just get to the point in what they want to ask, case related? Thank you. And as always, I enjoy your show. I've learned more about law than I probably care to admit. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, don't tell everybody, Jerry. Don't tell everybody how much you're learning about the law. Big trouble there. Jerry from Newport News, Virginia. Thank you so much for the question. Why are they asking all those questions? Why do they want to know everything, it seems, about a person before they start to testify, include all but their dog's name? Well, there's actually an important reason behind it. And then there's also a reason that is not the stated reason. I think part of it is getting that person a little warmed up, right? Sometimes people, when they're not a professional person, expert who's testified many times before, this is sometimes these people, their first time ever speaking in public. And we know what a huge fear that is for a lot of folks. Just getting up on a witness stand is sometimes incredibly nerve-wracking to people. And I take that for granted a little bit when I was a prosecutor. And, just get up there and I'm going to ask you some questions. You're like, no. These people need a little bit of hand-holding before you get them up there. Yes, red pen, it is for breaking the ice a little bit. It's like, let's give you some softballs. Let's get the blood flowing. Let's get you a little calmed down. Take a couple of deep breaths. Let me ask you some stuff that you're not going to get wrong. What's your name? Where'd you grow up? But there is an important reason behind it, because the juror's job is to be evaluating every witness. That includes that person's level of education. That includes perhaps their marital status. That includes perhaps their children. If they're going to be asked questions regarding something to do with a relationship, something to do with children, wouldn't it be good to know, is that person married or not? Does that person have children of their own? Where did that person go to school? How long did they go to school? Did they graduate? What do they do for a living? Where do they live? Maybe that's important to evaluating what they're about to testify to. Certainly some things in their background might become important. Certainly things like, you ever done prison time? Ever been convicted of a felony? Ever been convicted of a crime similar to the one that you're testifying to here? All of this has to do with evaluating the witness for how much credibility are you going to give them, and evaluating their veracity. Should I believe this person who's on the stand? So it serves a couple of purposes, but it is important. I mean, we don't want to just throw someone up there and have them start answering questions and we don't know who this person is at all. Does it sometimes get to be a bit much? Sure. Does it get to be a bit boring? Sure. Does it take a little too long? Sometimes I think so. But I think it's also important, depending on the witness. But great question, Jerry from Newport News, in the middle of the ocean there. Jerry from Newport News, appreciate your question. All right. Keep it rolling, Ritter. Here we going.
Hey, Josh and crew. This is Ashton out in Phoenix, Arizona. I had a question regarding the state of Hawaii versus Konig. I think it's also known as the Trouble in Paradise case. And on day 4, the defense attorney brought up an argument where I guess the state had introduced or is trying to introduce or had filed some sort of exhibit list adding clips of some officer's body camera. And the defense was saying that those were clips that the defense had chosen and created and that Hardy admitted under their own exhibit list. And so the defense attorney was basically saying that the state shouldn't be allowed to mark them as state pieces of evidence. They should have to use the defense evidence number. And I guess I'm just not understanding the argument as to why it matters if it's under the state or under the defense. The defense seemed to make it be about the jury and that they would look favorably upon whichever side it was under. But I'm just not seeing that argument, and maybe you can help explain it. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Ashton, one of my dudes from Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you so much for calling in. Excellent question. I love, we're talking about the Gerhardt Konig case here. And I know that I love how that you refer to it as the Trouble in Paradise case. I saw we were watching a documentary about this the other night, Tiff. What was it? It was like Love on the Edge or like something like that. Whoever writes these, what do you want to call them? Subtitles to cases. That's a career in itself. We have a lot of talent here at Courtroom Confidential in our chat when it comes to naming the shirt color I'm wearing. I'm sure we could use those resources to coming up with some clever subtitles to some of these cases that we're talking about. But yeah, Trouble in Paradise, Love on the Rocks, I think somebody put in the chat. Love on the Edge. That was it. Love on the Edge is a terrible. I love that one. Love on the Edge. Come on. That's some Emmy award-winning subtitleage right there. Annie Elise. Oh, she was in that. Yeah, Annie Elise is actually in that series. It's good. We were watching it. It's pretty good. It's entertaining. All right, but to your question, yeah, there was a little bit of a back and forth. Don't look down. There, see, you turn therapist, onto this, and now she's found herself a new career. I love it. Don't look down. Gerhardt Konig. There was a little bit of a issue in court about who's going to mark an exhibit. The answer is no, it doesn't matter. No, the jurors get all of the exhibits back into court. Now, are they handed the plaintiff's exhibits in perhaps a different binder or something than the defense exhibits? Yes. So I guess the defense is trying to say here that, hey, we don't want emphasis put on this piece of evidence as if it were a favorable to the plaintiff, to the prosecution. We want this presented as favorable to the defense. Well, we all know that's not how evidence works. Evidence is evidence. A document is a document. A picture is a picture. But I mean, okay. Long story short, the way it works is it goes in by whoever marked it. So let's say there's a photograph. Let's say it's a 911 call. If the prosecution plays it and they mark it as people's number 5, whatever it is, when the defense gets up and if they want to use that same call, it's already been marked, already been admitted. You refer to it as, I want to refer to you as people, what's been marked as people's 5. and you make your own arguments on it. You don't get to then remark it as defense A and have it go back there as another piece of evidence. But if the prosecution just refers to you called 911 but never marks anything, and the defense marks something that has been in the custody and control of the prosecution, which is most of the evidence, by the way, then that becomes a defense exhibit. So I don't know why there was any kind of confusion here as to whose it was. But you know, if you're arguing over what a piece of evidence should be marked as, you're probably not sitting pretty as far as the confidence that you have in your case is kind of the way I will sum it up. Thank you so much, Ashton, though, from Phoenix, Arizona. Great question on the Don't Look Down case from Hawaii. All right, Jan Gould, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate you, Jan. Heather Coopersmith, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate that and all your support. And Redondo Beach, happy crewversary. What is it when it's a birthday, though? A crew birthday? That doesn't work. Somebody needs to work on that for me. If the birds on Kouri's book are crows equals a murder, there you go. Because a group of crows, is it a group of crows or a group of ravens? I think it is a group of crows, is a murder. Did you know that? Tiffany's looking at me. Okay, she's nodding. She gets it. She's just saying, she's giving me one of these. She's saying, keep it rolling, Ritter. Keep it rolling. Move it on. Nobody cares. All right. Who do we got next here?
Hi, Josh and CC crew. This is Carrie from Phoenix, Arizona. I was wondering if you watched any of the Afroman trial. If not, you need to. It was even more interesting and wild than the last Cardi B civil trial. First impressions would lead one to think that Afroman may be the wild card here, but no. The judge actually was. From his general demeanor of casualness all the way to the way he directly spoke to the jurors, sometimes over-explaining the process and allowing counsel arguments to happen in open court versus sidebars, all the way to the long, rambling, seemingly off-the-cuff jury instructions. Spoiler alert, Afroman won unanimously. My question is this. Can the plaintiff in a civil case appeal a loss? I know the state cannot in a criminal case, of course, but although I think the jury definitely got the verdict right here, I can see where the plaintiffs would have an appealable argument with the way the courtroom was managed, especially the very confusing jury instructions. Thank you for taking my questions. Have a good rest of your day.
Carrie from Phoenix, Arizona. Let's put you on the map. I did not watch all the Afroman case. I know that it kind of caught the world on fire. I think there was the Afroman trial was bonkers, says Kindness Coefficient. There was a lot of reasons for that. I think when, first of all, the defendant's name is Afroman, that's going to catch some attention. Two, when you wear a American flag bespeckled suit as fabulous as that to court every day, you're going to get some media attention too. He also had some fame himself, didn't he? He had a song, "When I Get High" or something like that. That was kind of a hit back in the day. He's got a new hit, as Mix Firebird's Child points out, "Lemon Pound Cake." Long and short of this whole thing is that he gets his house raided by the sheriff's department. His real name is Joseph Foreman, by the way. They believe that he's involved in drug trafficking, and they raid his home back in August of 2022. This is in Adams County, Ohio. And his way of responding to it was to just mercilessly, but also hilariously, mock the sheriff's department for what they did. And he wrote some songs and he put up some videos. And he, one of them being Lemon Pound Cake, apparently when they were going through the house, one of the deputies takes a look at the cake that's on the table. I mean, he just has a field day with trying to do what he can to deal with the indignity that he felt. They didn't find any evidence of drug trafficking, by the way. And instead of just kind of moving on, the sheriff's department decides to take him to court and the individual sheriffs for a defamation lawsuit and an invasion of privacy lawsuit. Had I been their attorneys, I would have said, guys, just move on. Let it go. You're only, it's one of those things where the more air you put into a situation, the bigger bigger the problem is going to get. Why are you going to draw attention to somebody that you feel is embarrassing you? Move on. It was a defamation case, and essentially it was a bench trial. The judge did find in his, or wait a minute, was it a jury trial? Am I confusing this? It was a jury trial. They found in his favor. Because end of the day, one of the elements of defamation is a statement of fact. Okay. So you have to say something and say it like you believe it to be a fact. Then you have to publish it in some sort of way, make it public. You have to do that with either negligence, meaning you didn't care if it was true or not, or actual malice, meaning you knew it wasn't true, but you were trying to convince people it was true. And then you have to have reputational harm or damages. But that first element was where they found an issue, because the finding was it could not reasonably be taken as a literal statement of facts. The jokes he was essentially making. Satire is protected. Satire doesn't fall under defamation. You can say something about a public figure and say it publicly and know that it's not true, as long as you're doing it in a way where it's abundantly clear you're not trying to convince anybody it's true, right? I mean, things like Saturday Night Live could not exist if that wasn't part of our defamation laws, okay? That's where the case fell apart. But to your question on, can the plaintiffs appeal? Well, I am not a civil attorney. I'm not a plaintiff's attorney. I don't even pretend to be one. But because of the vast reach and resources of Courtroom Confidential, I can always phone a friend.
Carrie, thank you for the question. Yes, the plaintiff in a civil case can absolutely appeal, just like the defense can. You don't hear about it often, and that's because most likely that right to appeal, you trade that in exchange for not having to pay costs that you might incur when you lose a lawsuit. So between having the right to appeal and most plaintiffs being judgment proof, that gets exchanged and the case is kind of over once the jury returns a verdict for the defense.
That is my good friend, former colleague. He was a prosecutor along with me in the DA's office. He left to go into private practice, and he went into private practice as a plaintiff's attorney, as a civil attorney. His name is David Gammill. Great guy. There's his website. Please check it out. Please say hello to him. And there you go. There's the answer. Little did you know, the plaintiffs can also appeal. But this is an interesting thing about civil law, is so much of when a verdict takes place, it's so much about all the wheelings and dealings afterwards. Even when a plaintiff wins, even if they won $50 million, nobody ever gets that check cut. The defense comes back to them and goes, okay, what this has shown us is that you've got a fairly solid case here. We'll give you $20 million and we'll waive our right to appeal it. And they go back and forth. And if you don't want it, well, then fine, we're going to appeal it. And we're going to drag this through the appellate courts for several years. You'll never get a dime in between all of them. And maybe we win on appeal and we get ourselves a new trial. Or would you like to forego all of that and we cut you a check for much less than what you've actually been awarded, and we'll waive our right to appeal? And what he's saying is that usually the plaintiffs will say, okay, we've sued you. You won. We know that we are now on the hook to pay for your attorneys, by the way, is part of how this works. So if you will waive your attorney's fees, we'll waive our right to appeal. And that's why you usually don't hear about a plaintiff's appeal, because everybody's just negotiating behind the scenes. It's kind of one of the reasons why I like criminal laws. It's like Okay, you can appeal, but that person's going to prison in the meantime. All right. Great question, though. Carrie from Phoenix, Arizona. Derek Sherman, thank you so much for the super chat, says, hey, Josh, on March 26th of this year, Travis Reynolds, a former 22-year-old Pima County Sheriff's deputy, was arrested, charged with kidnapping, and fired following allegations of on-duty sexual misconduct. Connections to Nancy Guthrie, question mark, and then a bunch of emojis. I did read about this. I did see this, and Derek, I thought the same exact thing. Wow. Kidnapping is where my, the sirens start to go off. I don't think this is, kidnapping can cover a wide range of activities. Rarely do we ever see the kind of kidnapping where we see in the Nancy Guthrie case where somebody is actually abducted and taken from their home. What we consider to be kidnapping. Kidnapping can just be, if he's charged with sexual misconduct, I'm guessing it was things like where it was, hey, get into my car. That's a kidnapping. Moving a person from one place to another under force or duress is a kidnapping. You can ask OJ about that. It doesn't take a throwing somebody in the trunk of your car to be a kidnapping. But yeah, I mean, the answer is we have heard nothing about it. We've heard nothing about there being any kind of connection, but I sure hope that they are thoroughly investigating it. But yeah, as things sit right now, there are no, from where we sit and what we're told, there are no hot leads in the Nancy Guthrie case. Pretty incredible. 50 plus days in. Heather Cooper Smith, thank you so much for gifting the membership. Appreciate you and all your support. Lori Feeney, thank you for the super chat. Says, I was going to watch the Afroman trial, but then I got high. See, that's the kind of stuff I'm loving here. That was the name of the song, but then I got high, right? Do. All right. Keep it rolling, Ritter. Where are we at? All right.
Hi, everybody. This is Sonia from Chicago, and I'm calling regarding the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case. We just learned that there was a not guilty verdict, and I mean, I'm so thrilled. This poor woman has been through so much. It's unbelievable. I'm glad the judge did the right thing, but this is different in the sense that you had the defendant who actually testified on her own behalf and got a not guilty. So this is one of those special circumstances that required her, I think, to testify, and that she testified very, very strongly. What do you think? What is your take on that? I look forward to hearing from you. Always. You're the best, Josh. And you guys are the best, and everybody's the best. Love you guys. Bye.
Oh, Sonia, you're the best. Thank you for this question. Thank you for everything you do, Sonia. You are one of the heartbeats of this entire community. Let's put Chicago back on the map. Talking about Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Yes, she was found not guilty. Oh, hi, that's me. Yes, she did testify. Yes, it was a bench trial. So just a quick catch up on this. If you guys hadn't been following this, she was a former North Andover police officer. This took place back in June of 2025. And essentially what happened is she was involved in a really kind of ugly situation with the father of her child. After she gave birth, she apparently was suffering from some pretty severe postpartum depression. And the father wanted custody and had filed for a restraining order, which also I think involved him taking custody of the child. And they were going to serve that order. Members of her own former police department, or apparently she was on leave at the time, were going to serve that order on her. And the baby daddy was going to show up at the same time, which kind of set her off. The prosecution said that at one point, she kind of, I don't know if she barricades herself or goes up into another room. One of the officers responds. She's there. And that officer says that she pulls a gun on him and attempts to fire on him, and he fires at her, shoots her in the chest. She survives, obviously, in response to her firing on him. Her defense is, no, I was getting the gun to take my own life because my world was falling apart. I was suffering from postpartum depression. You're now serving me with a restraining order, taking away my child. I was attempting to take my own life, and you interrupted that by shooting me. Her testimony, quote, was, I never pointed my firearm at the officer. That officer was not just a colleague, he was my friend. And to Sonia's point, I think absolutely this is one of those cases where the defendant testifying was important, because so much of this was about what was the defendant intending to do at that time. And a defendant testifying becomes necessary, I think, in those situations where what was going through the defendant's mind at a crucial point is important, and there's no other way to present that evidence but from the defendant. So that's why I say self-defense is many times where you see it come up. Self-defense is all about what is happening in, between the two ears of the defendant in those crucial moments. And there's usually no other way to present that evidence. Same here. It's this officer's word against hers. And if she doesn't testify, then there's nothing to say what she, in fact, was intending to do. So she had to get up there and explain to the judge, most times it's a jury, but in this case, explain to the judge, no, I didn't want to hurt this person. This person's a friend. I was trying to take my own life. And that was convincing enough to the judge, at least to the point of not beyond a reasonable doubt proving, because the charge was that she was being charged with assault of this officer, attempted shooting of this officer. What I think is really at play here is liability. Had she been convicted of this, that would have essentially barred her from bringing any kind of lawsuit against her former police department for the injuries and whatever kind of emotional harm she has suffered from having been shot, if she was convicted of that crime. Now, Andover is probably sweating bullets, no pun intended, that she was found not guilty, because now that does open an opportunity for her to bring a lawsuit. That's what I think the filed charges were about anyways. I don't think they would have filed. Like, there's no reason to, she got shot, right? I mean, this happens quite a bit where officers rush into somewhere, things happen, people get shot. You don't see the officers bringing those types of charges usually. They brought it here. I think it was in the hopes of precluding her from bringing a lawsuit of her own. And I think she's going to probably bring her own lawsuit. We shall see. Sonia, you are so fantastic, and we love you so much. Thank you so much for asking the question. And Potter, thank you for the kind and generous super sticker. Appreciate you, Ann. Joy W. Can, thank you for supporting the mods with coffees. Appreciate that, Joy. And Wendy Joan, wow, 10 Courtroom Confidential memberships. Thank you so much, Wendy. That's very, very kind and generous of you. And I hope everybody who receives one of those enjoys. All right. Where are we on to next here? Oh, boy. Why am I lost? I shouldn't be lost. I see why. Okay, here we go.
Hi, Josh and Courtroom Confidential mods and Tiff and everybody that listens on Sunday Funday. I love this channel and I listen every Sunday. This is Pigeon Nest Tunes out in Palm Springs, California. And I'm just calling because I want to find out what happened with Rebecca Haro today, Thursday afternoon, I don't know, sometime today. She went to court here in Riverside County, and I'm just interested in finding out what happened with her case. I mean, it kind of captured the world last summer, especially for those of us that live here, right where she lives. and I'd like to find out what happened today. If you could let me know, let us all know, that would be great. Thanks so much.
Pigeon Nest Tunes from Palm Springs, California. Let's put you on the map. There you are. Out kind of in the general area of where this awful case took place. We're talking about Rebecca Haro. She is or was the mother of Emmanuel Haro. That's really what this case is about, is a baby Emmanuel, 7 months old. 7-month-old baby. Not even able to walk, not even able to talk. Just entire world is his two parents, who happen to be two of the most awful, evil people on the planet. So Jake, what kind of a human being do you have to be to allegedly, everything I'm about to say is allegedly, but according to what we believe, murder your own child, bury him somewhere in the wilderness that no one has still been able to find him, so his own family who actually loved and cared for him can't even give him a proper burial, and then go on TV and try to play the victim and say, oh, he was kidnapped. Oh, I was knocked over the head. And when I woke up, baby Emmanuel was gone. Look at that pathetic little wanted poster they put together. These people sicken me. This took place August 14th of last year in Yucaipa, California. And he's still missing. They still haven't found him. Jake, whatever credit you want to give him for this, said he doesn't want to deal with it. He took a plea, pled guilty to second-degree murder. He got sentenced to 30-something years. It was 25 to life, but a bunch of other bells and whistles made it something like 30 years to life. No plea agreement with the DA. Just did it with the judge. Said I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Just put me in prison. Interestingly, no indication whether that means he's cooperating with the prosecution against his own wife. Rebecca is maintaining her innocence, sticking with the story that there was a kidnapping. Good luck with that. So to your question, though, she was in court this week. Not a lot happened. Nothing actually happened, but they did schedule the prelim for May 29th. So we will stick with us. We will be following this one on May 29th, which should be a fairly significant day. If the prelim actually does happen that day, we should start to learn a little bit more of that. Oh, wow. That's the Friday of CrimeCon. Interesting. Sometimes I feel like I have clever insights. Sometimes I feel like I can add to the conversation. Other times I just feel like I'm so sickened by people that there's not much you can do but just try to not let a bunch of curse words exit your mouth. These people sicken me, and I at the very least tell us where he is so that maybe a proper burial can be done for him. But thank you for that, Pigeon from Palm Springs, California, for asking the question. All right. What do you guys think? We're having a good day, right? Didn't I tell you these questions would be good? We talked, listen, anytime you're talking about Afroman and his smash hit Lemon Pound Cake, you're having a good day. Talked about Kouri Richins. We've talked about this case. What was the one that I had? Jodi Huisentruit. I knew I was not going to get that right again. Darron Lee. We've covered a lot of ground, been all over the planet. Told you guys, it's always a great Sunday. All right. Quit with the editorializing, Ritter, and get on to the next question. Here we go.
Hi, Josh. Hi, everybody in the chat. This is Carolyn from Cincinnati. I have two comments. One's a question. I don't understand what motion in limine means. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't get what that is. I've heard it mentioned in a conversations, and I've looked it up, and I still don't understand. So you're my guy to explain it. Also, I just wanted to comment about the lady up in Ohio who drowned her 3-year-old child and got found not guilty by reason of insanity. To me, that's the insanity. What do you think's going to happen to her? Is she going to walk free someday? Because I just can't get over that. The cruelty of throwing your 3-year-old child into a flowing river. Well, that's all I have. Have a great Sunday fun day. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Carolyn from Cincinnati, Ohio. Let's put you on the map. Yeah, I tend to agree with you about Ruth Miller is the case that you were referencing there, Carolyn. That one bothers me too. This case is the woman we talked about it a few times here on this channel. This was out of Atwood Lake, Ohio, back in August of last year. This video, if you've never seen it, one of the most chilling things you're ever going to watch. She took her child, her 4-year-old son, Vincent, out to the lake and drowned him for God. She said that he was swallowed by a fish. I threw him in the lake and I gave him to God. These are all quotes. He's sweet. I love him. I gave him to God. Quote, he is real and he loves you and he is coming soon. Her husband apparently shared these same thoughts, drowned himself. Looks like she's never been charged with her murder, but he was found dead in the lake as well. But it sounds like he may have jumped into the lake in an act of faith. And then to complete the task, she took her daughter, who is 15, and her twin sons, both age 18, and put them in a golf cart and drove the golf cart into the lake, but they were able to and old enough to swim away and escape. And when police arrive, she's got that badge cam video that we see there where she's freely admitting all of this. Well, she had a trial, but at the trial, she pled not guilty by reason of insanity. And the trial was a bench trial with no witnesses called, only documents submitted. The judge considered it, and within 3-4 hours after considering the evidence, found her not guilty by reason of insanity, and she's gone away to a mental institution. I am not even saying that that is not the right result. I am just a little bothered by the quickness and lack of formality. I don't know what you want to call it. The lack of transparency, perhaps, is the word I'm looking for. This is a serious thing. 4-year-old's dead. Maybe kind of letting us peek behind the curtain a little bit wouldn't be a bad idea before we just decide somebody's too sick in the head to know what they did and put them in prison. By the way, I don't think that just because you think God made you do it or it was the right thing for God necessarily means you're criminally insane. I think that's not a mutually exclusive concept. But it doesn't sound like the prosecution put up much of a fight. They may have agreed with this result. The answer is, Carolyn, she's going away, probably never going to be released. But there's the problem, is that people who do go to mental institutions can be, quote unquote, healed, cured, and re-enter society. It's incredibly rare. There's a lot of more steps that take place. It's not like they're just, one day you're cured and you walk out the back door. But still, it's a serious situation. And I'm not saying that the people involved didn't take it seriously. I'm just saying, wow, that was breakneck speed. What exactly took place there? But to your other question, what is a motion in limine is what it is called. A motion in limine. Part of being a lawyer is just trying to find fancy Latin terms that you can use whenever possible to make it sound like you're smarter than everybody else. A motion in limine is essentially a pretrial motion. It's an evidentiary motion. In limine is Latin, and it means essentially at the threshold or at the onset. It's a motion that you bring before you go to trial. And you want to clarify the landscape of the evidence before you go in. I foresee there being a potential hearsay issue or a potential foundational issue or a potential best evidence problem with a document that they want to use. And you get all of these things done ahead of time. In California, it falls under Penal Code Section 402 or Evidence Code Section 402. And before you begin trial, you go down to the master calendar court. The master calendar court tells you which court you're going to go to for trial. You show up to that judge for trial. The judge says, great, I'm bringing in 60 potential jurors at 1 o'clock, but right now I want you guys to report back here at 10 a.m. for 402s, which are in limine motions. And that's where you just try to decide, hey, here's all the things that we have still undecided on this case, and we need to know the legal landscape, the evidentiary landscape of this trial before we head into it. That's what in motion in limine is. It's just lawyers trying to make it sound like their very expensive legal education was all worth it. All right. Where are we off to now? Thank you so much for that question, though. Thank you so much to My Father's Alibi for just gifting a Courtroom Confidential membership. Appreciate you. Ohio Palm Mom. Ruth Miller doesn't need all her mental health issues shared. Maybe not. I would certainly like to know, though. And Julia Miller says, has been a member for 2 months. Happy crewversary to Julia. Says, is it normal in a bench trial to not have openings or closings? Sometimes, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, the judge doesn't really need all of your road mapping. The judge probably knows a lot about what the case is about. I think I've done maybe 2 bench trials in my entire career. And I think in both, the openings were more like, okay, Your Honor, I'm going to call this person, and this person. Our argument is X, Y, and Z. Thank you so much. And in closings, it's much less of a closing argument. It's just more like here's why I think we met all the elements. It's like you're arguing a motion more than it is you're arguing a trial. But I don't think there's any rules preventing sides from waiving that. It's a much different process. But thank you for that, Julia Miller, for asking that question. All right. Moving on.
Hey, Josh and the CC crew. It's Lori Robin Wilson from Port Ludlow, Washington again. Remember my first call and my very only other call? I asked you if you thought that if Rex Heuermann took a plea deal, would he have to tell where all that he did, or would he get a sweet deal like Brian Koberger did? And you said you don't think he's going to take a plea deal. Well, I don't know. Looks like he might. So I guess my first question comes back again alive. And it just says, do you think he's going to get a sweet deal where he doesn't have to tell anything? I thought he might take a plea deal because he doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of his wife and daughter and son. Anyway, whatever you think, great to be a part of this crew. Bye.
Lori from Port Ludlow, Washington. Good to hear from you again. Yeah, Rex Heuermann. You know what? I'll believe it when I see it. I know there's a bunch of reports. I know that apparently the victim. The thing that bothers me about this is we have not heard from his attorneys or the prosecutors. As I sit here right now, if I'm wrong and they've made a statement on it, please somebody tell me. But you would think if the attorneys or the prosecutors had any intention of this happening, we would have heard from them. It's also a little bizarre to me that they're saying, oh, it's going to happen at the next court date, but it very well could happen. Why would it happen, though? And to your question, will he get a sweetheart deal? Well, one, I don't think he's getting a deal. I think he's just going to plead. What Koberger got, if you want to call that a deal, is they took the death penalty off the table. They said, if you plead, we'll take the death penalty off the table. He was looking at the death penalty. Rex is not. They don't have the death penalty in New York. And that was part of my reason why I said, why is he going to plead this? He's got nothing to benefit. It would be a sweetheart deal if he were saying, oh, okay, I'm looking at 6 death penalties here. If you take the death penalty off the table, I'll go ahead and plead so I can stay alive. They're not going to, I don't think they're offering him anything. I think what, if anything is happening, I think he's saying, I just want to go to prison. I'll go ahead and max me out, judge, because the max is life without parole. So I'll just take my life without paroles and go to prison. The other reason why not that it makes it impossible, I just don't understand it. Is that they're saying, well, it's out of embarrassment. Mary Murphy is a reporter who's been following this case from the inception. Posited this theory. She put out a tweet saying Heuermann allegedly used fake IDs on sites to find women. The DA said web searches indicate sick obsession with CP and female torture. A guilty plea could limit the amount of details that come out, but the accused serial killer could change his mind. I don't know if I buy into the idea of this guy wanting to protect his reputation. I mean, maybe somewhere in the resources of his very twisted and evil mind, he wants to spare his wife and children from the idea of them hearing about all his web searches. Maybe. I know that the wife, by the way, I think the last she's commented on this is she's standing by him. So maybe he likes keeping her kind of delusional. And if all of these web search history were to come out, maybe he feels like he would lose that and it would be too much explaining for him to her. I don't know. All I know is that it's not a deal. I mean, if the prosecution comes out and says we have offered him second-degree murder on all of these, I will be flabbergasted. I think what he's just going to do is an open plea. We talked about this with the Jake Haro. He didn't get a deal. He just pled to the judge and the judge maxed him out. And I think that's what's going to happen here if it happens at all. But like I said, I'll believe it when I see it. Kathleen says Rex is not going to spare anyone but Rex. Yeah, I don't know how you get a God complex egomaniac sicko like this all of a sudden starts to care about what people think of him. But maybe. I don't know. It is weird how we're hearing this from everybody. Lori Feeney, thank you so much, says, Josh, I attended the Ruth Miller sentencing. I have audio and transcript if you're interested in the evidence presented of her being legally insane. Very interesting. Thank you for that, Lori. See that? We got boots on the ground, everybody. Heather Cooper Smith, thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate you. And Mal B313 has been a member for 14 months, everybody. She's doing this thing. I interpret that as this. Is that what that is? Or is it one of these? What is it, Kaylin? Okay, come on, Kaylin. You're the person that's supposed to know. You're our emoji expert. Anyhow, thank you for that. Happy crewversary to you. All right, let's keep it rolling here.
Hi, Josh. This is Ashley from Clearwater, Florida. I'm calling to get your thoughts on the JonBenet Ramsey case. I would love for you to talk about who you think did it and why. Why was the investigation such a hot mess from start to finish? If you recall, the police did not properly secure the crime scene. The parents were interviewed by police together instead of separate. There was the fake ransom note that was written on the family stationery. They conducted handwriting analysis for the father, the mother, and the son. And the father and son were ruled out, but they could not rule out the mother's handwriting. And then there was the secret grand jury indictment in 1999 to indict the parents for, I think it was child abuse. But for whatever reason, the DA chose to not move forward with that indictment. And also, John Ramsey was invited to speak at CrimeCon a few years ago. And I would love to hear what you think about all of this. I hope you all have a great day. Bye.
Ashley from Clearwater, Florida. Thank you so much for the question. Let's put you on the map. Ashley, that is a great question, but far too wide of a question for us to answer. What do I think about? What are my thoughts on JonBenet Ramsey? How much time do you got? I feel like we could spend hours. In fact, people have spent hours. There are some incredible documentaries that have come out just recently. She disappeared in December of 1996. So I imagine we're going to be getting more of those this year with the anniversary coming up. But it is, it is probably wow, I'm trying to think if there's is there a better case of an example of an unsolved case that is still so kind of controversial and mysterious and so intriguing, even this 30-something years later? Is there another case that you guys can think of? I mean, we talk about OJ all the time. I don't think I would put that in the category of unsolved. Menendez brothers, there's plenty of cases that continue to kind of, haunt the hallways, but not one where we have never had a person indicted for this even. And I know they went after the family for a long time. I will tell you this, I don't think the family's involved. That's where I fall on this whole thing. I know some people do. I know some people take a look at it and think the family had to have been involved. How could you feel that way? Scott Peterson. Yeah, but he, again, we're not talking like he's in prison for the thing, but it is another one of those cases that is a, big issue. Black Dahlia. Yeah, there's one unsolved. That might be up there. The Lyndhurst baby. Yeah. Madeleine McCann. Yeah. These are all good examples. I mean, but don't you feel still, even mentioning all of those, that this one right here is probably the poster child, probably not the right word to use, but the prime example of an unsolved mystery. Anyhow, I could talk about this one forever. The shortest answer I can give you is that where things stand right now is that they, last John, the father, spoke on this, is that there has always been unidentified male DNA found in this case. They want that, they want to use the incredible advancements in IgG technology to see if anything can be done about that. And I think that is being done. I think even Othram might be involved in this whole thing. They're one of those labs that's kind of leading the industry when it comes to IgG technology. And I haven't heard anything more on it since January of 2025 is when he said that they are planning to do that they're asking for that to be done. Here's though, one thing I will weigh in on this case is I think that unidentified male DNA might be a problem that's hamstringing this case. In other words, when you pin everything, when you clear suspects based on one piece of evidence, and they've cleared many suspects based on that evidence. They've arrested other people. There have been other suspects that, if you watch some of these documentaries, there's been other suspects that really look like they're good for it. People who've admitted to it, and they've cleared them with this unidentified male DNA. What if that unidentified male DNA is not connected to this crime? It's touch DNA, by the way. It's not some other source of DNA. What if that DNA got there some other way and has nothing to do with this crime? Are we clearing a bunch of people who may be involved because of that DNA? That could be a big problem to me. I am not at all trying to say that I am an expert on this case. I followed it. I find it fascinating. I am hopeful that the IgG technology might listen. If the IgG leads them to a person who also has a bunch of other connections circumstantially to this case, fantastic. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if the IgG perhaps leads them to a suspect that they eventually find out has nothing to do with her murder and her murder. Wouldn't that be crazy? But thank you so much, Ashley. Like I said, maybe we'll do a case notes on that. We talked about OJ, maybe JonBenet. Can we add that to the list? Oh, I forgot to mention too, on Rex Heuermann, if you are curious about this case, we did do a case notes on that. We're very proud of the work that we put into this one. So if this thing is in fact going to plead out and come to a conclusion and you just want to get caught up on it, please check out the Case Files episode that we did on this, where we interviewed Mary Murphy. It's up on our channel now. We'll send you guys the link. Please check it out. All right. Where am I at here? I'd love to do a Case Files on John. All right. All right. You say that kind of stuff and that just puts more work on the plate. I would love to do it too. We got to find some people to interview. Maybe we could get John. Wouldn't that be incredible? That would be incredible. We'll work on it. We're working on that, and I'm going to add OJ to the list too. All right. A lot of work for us. And we got to plan that world tour for 2027, the Courtroom Confidential World Tour, coming to you soon. All right. Oh, boy. Oh, there's the link to the Rex Heuermann. Oh, boy, everybody. Get out the waterworks. It's that time. We're down to the final 3 questions. Don't throw tomatoes. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere, by the way, when we're done, because we do have some announcements, some stuff I don't want you guys to miss out on. I feel like I give you a false sense of we're done here, but we're not done here. We've got 3 more questions, and then we've got some great announcements for all of you. All right. Here we go. Not my fault. I'm pressing all the buttons.
Hey, Josh. Johnny Knoxville, a.k.a. Christopher, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, very pollen-ridden North Carolina right now. My question is regarding AI evidence. A lot of surveillance systems are using AI software. I've seen 2 cases now in the last couple of weeks covered by the civil rights lawyer, John Bryan, who I think would make a good guest for your show sometime. But a man in Reno, Nevada was arrested wrongfully based on AI surveillance footage, and a grandmother in Tennessee was wrongfully arrested. She was held for months by the Fargo, North Dakota Police Department before she was released. I guess my question is, could we ever see the Supreme Court weighing in on AI-related evidence? I mean, you know, saying something along the lines of, you're going to need more than this for probable cause, because there's so many errors being made with AI-related stuff, AI-related software, surveillance cameras, all this stuff. I just think there's going to be some kind of come to Jesus moment with the AI stuff regarding evidence that police departments rely on. So I guess, what are your thoughts on that? I'll leave it at that, and hope you have a great Sunday.
Johnny Knoxville from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. One of my dudes. Good to hear from you, my friend. Great question, too. This stuff fascinates me. AI evidence. They say that the law is always about 10 years behind technology. But I think when it comes to AI, that's applying it to normal technology. That's applying it to technology from 10 years ago. AI is advancing so quickly that I think we are 50 years behind where we should be on AI. I am amazed, as I'm sure all of you. I feel like AI as a consumer product was introduced to us within the last year. That I feel like I wasn't using ChatGPT over a year ago. I feel like I knew that they're working on this stuff and developing things, but like the idea of having an app on my phone or friends that I would speak to actually using it, starting to use it. It's advanced so quickly, and what we're starting to find out what it can do. And it's amazing. It can do some mind-blowing, incredible things. The processing of information. Have you ever used it? Handed it a bunch of data and said, please process this for me, put this in a graph, analyze this for me. I've just started to use it for stuff like that. It's incredible. It's going to replace us all. It can do podcasts, by the way. I had a friend put his entire case file into an AI platform. It wasn't ChatGPT. I forget which one it was. And it spat out a 15-minute audio file of two voices, a female and a male, that did not sound fake, speaking to each other about that case as if it were a podcast. And I thought, well, I thought I found an AI. I thought I found a career that wouldn't be replaced by robots. Guess again. I could be AI right now. You'd have no idea. Kaylin could be AI. I haven't laid eyes on Kaylin in person in months. All I see her is through computer screens. She could be AI. Kaylin says, I remember first using ChatGPT in December of 2022. My mind was blown. I remember my first message. Yeah, it's incredible. But even from then, I mean, you're talking 4 years ago or close to 4 years ago. It makes that old version of ChatGPT look like child's play in comparison to what it can do now, I feel. No one can replace Courtroom Confidential. Well, when we do have it replace me, we'll at least do it in a way that you won't notice, hopefully. Yeah. Oh, this was interesting too. Tiff points out that there was this Supreme Court judge that grilled a prosecutor for using AI. It was wild. They had used it and it had spat out. It wasn't incorrect case law. It was non-existent case law. It had like just made up citations because it doesn't know. And this person got grilled for it. I do know attorneys though who will use it to write things, and it now knows to analyze and cross-reference and what we call shepherdize the case law. So it's using correct case law now. It's gonna. I'm telling you, we're done. We're all done. I, for one, welcome our computer overlords. But that's not what you're asking about. You're asking about Gossip Rumor loves AI. See, I want her to prove to herself. We're going to need to have some sort of like check the box thing, identify everything, all the pictures that include a school bus thing for all of our users at this point. Johnny, who is not AI, asked the question about this and how is it going to affect the law. And he references a case of a grandmother from Tennessee. Her name is Angela Lips. This one is wild. Let me just tell you some quick stuff about it. July of last year, she is arrested in Tennessee. She's arrested, by the way, while she's babysitting 4 of her grandchildren at gunpoint, by the way. Why? Well, there's a warrant out of North Dakota claiming that she was the suspect of a massive bank fraud in North Dakota. How did they identify her? Through AI. Through AI facial recognition, took the suspect, ran it through the entire national database, I guess, of driver's licenses, found her photo and said, oh, this is Angela Lips from Tennessee that is in fact your fraudster in Fargo, North Dakota. Only one problem with that. Angela Lips has never been to North Dakota, doesn't know anybody in North Dakota, and during the times of these crimes, she was making purchases in Tennessee. Usually not a problem, right? People get misidentified. People have warrants that go out for them. You come in, you do what's called a wrong person warrant. Those things can be easily cleared up. Problem is, these knuckleheads, investigators, go and arrest her at gunpoint and put her in jail for 6 months, waiting extradition to North Dakota before anyone takes the time to even interview her. By the time she's allowed to speak to an attorney, that attorney does a basic amount of work. Basically, says, give me your banking records, takes a look at her banking records, and goes, oh, by the way, when you say that she was, passing false or, bad checks in North Dakota, she was buying a Dr. Pepper at the Piggly Wiggly in Tennessee. Couldn't do it. Sorry, cops. They let her out. And to add insult to injury, they don't apologize and they don't give her a mechanism to get home. They don't provide her with even a bus ticket to get back home. It is a complete miscarriage of justice, and everybody involved should be embarrassed. No coat, no shoes, no ride home. There you go. From Fargo. In case you don't know what Fargo's like, watch the movie. It's apparently very cold. 6 months. Yes, Kathy. Kathy, you should be losing your brain about this one. And all because she happened to pop up through. You would think the cops would say, oh, that does look like our suspect, but you know what? Isn't it weird that our fraudster from Fargo is living in Tennessee? Let's do, I don't know, the bare minimum police work to see if this is our right person before we lock a 50-year-old woman grandmother up and extradite her all the way to North Dakota. And there is your Sunday Funday rant of the week. All right, let's keep it rolling here.
Juiced. 75 days till CrimeCon. I'm doing my call backwards this week, folks. Josh, this might be a silly question, silly like Gibbers, Wendy Adelson's nickname for Dan Markel. Bench trials seem to be all the rage right now. Can a judge in a bench trial ever be effectively hung, or do they always have to reach a decision? But seriously, in cases like Kelsey Fitzsimmons, where there's real community pressure on a single judge, does choosing a bench trial actually make more sense because a jury has that built-in anonymity and insulation? From your experience, when do you choose a bench trial over a jury trial? And is it fair to say it's harder to get something like jury nullification with a judge than with a jury? By the way, y'all, this is Court Dog Daniel from New Britain, Connecticut. Peace out, CC Faithful.
Just an injection of juice right at the end. Thank you so much. One of my dudes, Court Dog Daniel, CDD from New Britain, Connecticut, talking about Kelsey Fitzsimmons a little bit, really talking about bench trials. And you bring up a really interesting point. So obviously, no, you're not going to get a hung jury with a bench trial. The judge, if the judge can't make up its mind, then the judge has made up their mind and it's not guilty. But what about community pressure where you have a jury who is anonymous and you have a judge who might, by the way, be looking for re-election someday? That's an interesting question. Is there some strategy behind asking for a bench trial in a situation where you know that there will be community pressure in favor of the defendant, and that pressure might be more acutely felt by a judge who has to run for re-election than by a group of 12 people that they're never going to know who they are and they move on with their lives? I don't know. I love that question. I love the way that you're thinking about it. Problem is that the prosecution has to agree to the bench trial as well. I mean, unless things are different in Boston, but where most places I practice, everybody's is entitled to a jury trial if they want it. Maybe they can force that upon them in Massachusetts. If you guys know, let me know. But that's a really interesting question, and I mean, to me, that's some kind of taking a chance with some 3D chess that I don't really buy into unless you know something about this particular judge. I could see that. I could see if you're like, this judge hates these types of cases. I could see that. But again, wouldn't the prosecution know the same thing and say, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We want a jury here. Great question. CDD from New Britain, Connecticut, who is, I'm going to say 90. Black Witter is 99% juice. See that? Now that is a passing grade here at Courtroom Confidential. I'm going to say Court Dog Daniels in the 90s, maybe pushing a 96, 97. I don't know. Sounds like it. Black Witter, though, setting the grade, setting the curve. 99% juiced. I love it. All right, everybody. This is it. Last question of the day. Who is bringing us home? Cody in Tennessee, 90% juice. That's a passing grade, but I feel like you could do better. Now, see this. Farm Girl, 6% juiced. I feel like you're not even showing up, Farm Girl. 6% juiced. D. Bullard, 11% juice. That's because you've been hanging out with Farm Girl too much. Cork Tog Daniel, 100% juice. There you go. All right. Who is bringing us home today?
Happy Sunday, Fundy, Joshua, Tiffany, Kaylin, the greatest mods on the planet, CC, family, and guests. It's Alicia K. Mayo, Humboldt, Tennessee. All right, Joshua, we just got to jump on in, shuck the corn on down to the cob, get to the meat potatoes of it all, because what in the name of grits and gravy is going on with the quadruple amputee champion cornhole player that allegedly pew-pewed a fella and then drove off with his formerly living essence and then left said as essence on the side of the road, allegedly. What is his possible defense going to be? And is his attorney going to be allowed to basically use this man's physical limitations to try to sway the jury or judge to believe that this man did not do what he's alleged to have done? I have so many questions. Now, everybody listen, hit that like, share, and chat. It's all free. Help CC out. We love Courtroom Confidential. Hope y'all have a great Sunday Fundy. Bye.
AKM from Humboldt, Tennessee. You heard her. You better listen. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's free. We would love to have you on board. Love to have your support. What a wild case to end with today. I'm so glad that Alicia K. Mayo asked this question, because this one was all over the interwebs last week, and it is a wild one. It is involving a man by the name of Dayton Webber, and there you see him. He is a quadruple amputee from the age of 10 months old. His story up until earlier this month was a fascinating, wonderful hero story in many ways. He, when he was less than a year old, suffered from streptococcus pneumonia blood infection that caused him to lose all 4 of his limbs. But in fact, with a very low chance of survival, but he survived. And not only did he survive, but he's one of these incredible people that you've got to listen. He did something awful, allegedly, but you got to tip your hat to people who enter life with the deck stacked against them, right? And they still make something incredible out of that. He was on the Today Show. He wrote an essay for the Today Show, and he talked about how, despite his physical limitations, as AKM puts it, he did many things. Learned to drive, learned to participate in sports, became a professional cornhole player. I've got all of my limbs, and I am not great at that sport. That is a sport that involves a lot of physical dexterity, and you know, it's not hitting a 80-mile-per-hour curveball, but it's still, you got to have some talent and physical ability to do that. And he rose to the level of professional despite not having those full kind of physical capabilities. Problem is, he also had a bit of an anger problem, allegedly, and gets into an argument with a friend of his, we understand, by the name of Bradrick Michael Wells, who's 27 years old. This took place back earlier this month, March 22nd, just a week ago, out of La Plata, Maryland. There's his friend. And something happens. Apparently, it was hard to kind of figure this out, but apparently it sounds like Dayton was driving, gets into an argument with Bradrick, who's sitting in the front passenger seat. There's 2 people in the back, eyewitnesses to this. And Dayton allegedly ends up shooting Michael and kills him. And you're saying to yourself, wait a minute. The guy plays cornhole. Okay. He can drive. Okay. You're telling me he can shoot a weapon now? Well, I'm not just telling you. Dayton is, in fact, showing you. This is from his own YouTube channel not too long ago. Let me get you a show. That is him reloading and shooting a 9mm handgun himself. That, like I said, video that he put up on his own YouTube, it's obviously become unearthed recently in regards to this whole story. So it's sad. He's looking at first-degree murder. I mean, I say sad. I don't know anything about this man but what I've just told you. He could be a horrible human being. I find it sad when you see a person who, like I said, born with the cards stacked against them and makes the most of it, and then still is going to end up perhaps behind bars for the rest of his life. Really, really tragic story. And, his friend, 27 years old, loses his life. Nothing great about it. Well, everybody, that is it. Didn't I tell you it was a good Sunday fun day? Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you for being here with us at the later time. Appreciate you accommodating our efforts with the little ones, and their if it will make you feel any better, they got lots of little eggs and lots of little presents, and then they were three very happy little girls and one very happy mama and papa. Derek Sherman, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, Josh and CC ladies, I'm just curious on what you're going to be covering during the week until the Courtney Clenny case on April 27th. Well, we're going to be covering a lot, but as far as what we're covering on Courtroom Confidential live trials, that's a good question. I don't think we've got anything planned really until Courtney Clenny's case starts on the 27th, but we're going to be covering a lot on the main channel in the meantime. So thank you for that, Derek Sherman. Let me tell you some things. 6 hearings this Wednesday. Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on Wednesday. A lot going on Wednesday. You know what? Do we know what the 6 are? Can we put those somehow in the chat and have everybody tell us what they're most interested in hearing? That might be a good thing while I gab on for the next few minutes here, giving you all announcements. So while we're working on that, can we do that on a poll? Are we able to do a 6-thing poll? No, I'm being told. YouTube, the multi-trillion-dollar corporation can't handle a 6-option poll, but we will figure out a way to ask you guys. In the meantime, let me tell you about the website without any limitations, and that is the courtroomconfidential.com. Well, if we're able to do a poll, let's do a poll. If we can do it, let's do it. If you know the 6 cases coming up and we're able to do a poll, we'll do it. I just don't know what those 6 cases are, but we'll put it up and we'll figure it out. Maybe I'm making things too fancy here. I feel like I'm stressing everybody out in the last few minutes. But in the meantime, thecourtroomconfidential.com. If you enjoyed the questions this week and you're thinking to yourself, I would love to figure out how I could ask a question, here's how you can do it. Okay. So we can't do the poll. Let's just put up the 6. Let's just put up the 6 cases in a. Can you guys just enter it in one chat and let me know what they are, and I'll just tell everybody, and we can do kind of a raise of hands sort of a thing. Sorry. See, Ritter, you should have just landed the plane rather than trying to do one final loop-de-loop. All right. If you would like to leave us a question, we can handle this technologically. Go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and click on Leave Us a Question, and we will answer your question the next Sunday. 2, memberships. A lot of you received some gifted memberships today. We are so incredibly grateful to everybody who gifted a membership. If you want to join yourself, though, then go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and click on Become a Member, and you can find out about all the benefits that we have from membership, a lot of things that we're working on, things that we're still continuing to add as we are able to. So, yeah, Josh causing trouble. go to thecourtroomconfidential.com and click on Become a Member. And then finally, merch. If you are thinking to yourself, I need a brand new t-shirt, I need a brand new mug, I need a tumbler, I need a hat, I need a zip-up hoodie, I need a pullover hoodie, I need a beanie, I need a notebook, I need a mug, or I need pajama pants, then we've got you covered for all of those things at thecourtroomconfidential.com. Just click on the shop and check out what we have available. We're very proud of the quality of the items that we have available to you, and you can show off to all your friends. PJs are Tampa airport friendly, by the way. We've already gotten official word on that. All right, what did you miss this week? Well, on Friday, we had our weekly roundup here on courtroomconfidential.com, or here on Courtroom Confidential on YouTube. We had Julia Janae as our guest. We talked a little bit about the Nancy Guthrie case. We talked about the Gerhardt Konig case. You guys all love Julia from one of the former anchors from Court TV. She's just got a wealth of knowledge and insight into these cases. Please check out that conversation. Then over on, okay, here we go. Here's the 6 cases coming up for Wednesday. Mark Sanchez, Ashley Buzzard, Andrew McGann, Brad Simpson, Luigi Mangione, and Courtney Clemeny. That is incredible. That is a very busy Wednesday. So we're going to be talking about as many of these as we can. If there's updates, if there's interesting things, but if in those cases you're thinking to yourself, this is the most important one to me, let's do it by a vote of which is most important to you. 1, Mark Sanchez, 2, Ashley Buzzard, 3, Andrew McCann, 4, Brad Simpson, 5, Luigi Mangione, or 6, Courtney Clemeny. Please let us know in the chat, and we will try to do just kind of a site poll here and figure out what you guys are most interested in. I'm seeing a lot of 2s, a lot of 6s, a few 4s thrown in there. So we will, I'm sure, like I said, we're going to be talking about most of those things anyways. Also on Friday, we had the weekly rap sheet. That is over on Fox Nation. That is a show that I co-host alongside Paul Morrow and Donna Rotuno. We had a really excellent conversation this week about the the social media verdict. Really fascinating verdict against Instagram and YouTube. We broke that all down, and we talked about Whitey Bulger, by the way. He's back in the news. And Paul actually has some really great insights into all of that. So please check that out on Fox Nation. And they're running a special right now. So it is just under $3 a month if you enroll in an annual plan. And we just wanted to let you guys know about that, because I know telling you about Fox Nation means you're like, oh God, not another subscription. Well, at least it's a little on the cheap for you. All right, then stay tuned for Monday. Here's our guests for the week. We're very proud about, very, very, very excited about these. On Monday, we will be having Chris McDonough from the Interview Room live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about, is that Barry? Is that who that is there? That's Barry Morphew. Well, it says there. Read the thing, Ritter. Morphew in court. We're going to be talking about that, probably a few other things. That's on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then on Wednesday, big 6-case Wednesday, we have Paul Morrow from Fox Nation. I love Paul. Paul's a fascinating guy. He's got a background in law enforcement. He's also a lawyer. He's also very smart and also very funny, and he cracks me up. So we're going to be having him on. He's of Fox News and Fox Nation and weekly rap sheet fame, live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern this coming Wednesday. Oh yeah, Tiger Woods is also in the news. By the way, ladies, Tiger Woods just rolled his car again. He's going to be in a little bit of trouble. So, and therapist, gives a big heart to Paul. He's great. I love him. All right. CrimeCon is coming up in Las Vegas, May 29th through 31st. What did we just say is happening on the 29th? Oh, Rebecca Haro is going to be back for her prelim. Well, we're going to be in Vegas for CrimeCon during that time. If you would like to go and you still haven't bought a ticket, there are still, I think they said all of the kind of higher level tickets are sold out, which is incredible how early they've sold this stuff out. But there still are general admission tickets available. And if you would like to come, we're going to give you 10% off if you enter the room, courtroom, all in caps, all one word. Yes, Gail Lomé, Fox Nation is going to cover CrimeCon again, like they did last year. They're going to be doing like a kind of a man on the street sort of stuff. And they're going to be doing all sorts of updates, and they're going to have a big presence there. I'm going to be a part of it. We're going to have a panel. It's going to be, Fox Nation is going all in for CrimeCon this year. So we're excited to be there. And there's one more reason that we are very excited to be going to CrimeCon this year. And that is that we just got approval to co-brand this brand new shirt for CrimeCon. Look at that thing. I'm so proud of this. You would think I designed it with how proud I am of this. Kaylin designed this thing. If she doesn't do everything else in the world, she also designed this. And I would like to take full credit for it because I feel like maybe Kaylin's AI, because I feel like she got into my brain and then just put it onto the shirt. I love this thing. It's the first hopefully of many kind of collectibles that we'll be able to do for CrimeCon. But this one says, let's keep it rolling. You get it? Motion to keep the late time, Cody in Tennessee says. Oh, boy. All right. I'm going to take it under consideration, Cody. Anyhow, this shirt will become available to everybody. If there was not another reason you wanted to become a member, well, then it's to get this shirt, because this coming April 1st, which is when? That's like a day coming up here, right? Oh, this coming Wednesday. Wow, Wednesday's a big day. So this coming Wednesday, this shirt will become available to everybody in our membership. We would love to make it available to you so that if you are coming to CrimeCon, you can wear it to CrimeCon. So other than that, you guys are all fabulous. You're all wonderful. Thank you for spending part of your Sunday with us. I want to give a very special thank you to For Mr. Crowley 2 for becoming a YouTube member. Become like For Mr. Crowley 2. Oh, Nana Banana just became a YouTube member. Dragonfly Hotwire. See, guys, they figured it all out. You can too. Be like Dragonfly Hotwire and become a YouTube member. Shout out to Josh for ad-free live shows. That's right. We dedicate ourselves to, if you're watching us live as it's happening, we're not going to let YouTube interrupt you. Lemon Pound Cake color t-shirt, part of the spring launch. We have a yellow one. We'll bring back the yellow one just for that occasion. Very big special shout out to my friend David Gammill. There's his website once again. He's also on Instagram. You can find him there. Put some juice boxes in his comments just to confuse the heck out of him. Special shout out and thank you to Afton, Sonia, Kathy, and Therapist for being the best mods on YouTube. Kaylin, you're amazing. Can't thank you enough. And Tiffany, you are, as always, the best thing that ever happened to me. Have a great Sunday, everybody. We will see you all here tomorrow night. Take care. Bye-bye.